If you think XRP could hit double digits, maybe even climb close to $30, don't second guess yourself. You're not crazy, and you're definitely not alone. In fact, some of the sharpest minds in finance and crypto believe there's a real chance it could happen. Tired of fake gurus who claim to be expert traders but never trade live? I trade live on the second largest crypto exchange, where everything is transparent and results can't be faked. For over 440 days, I've consistently closed every month in profit. In the last 90 days alone, my followers have earned over $34,000 in profits with only 4% drawdown. Verified results, not empty claims. Want to see my verified stats? Click the first link in my profile and start copying my trades for free today. Honestly, for some of you, even $30 might sound conservative, and I can't blame you for thinking big. But let me show you something exciting. Check out this headline. Super bullish, undeniably positive. Straight from you today. XRP price might skyrocket to $29.32, Bitwise says. And here's the kicker. This isn't just some random person typing away on their keyboard. This is Bitwise, a respected name in the financial world. Oh, and did you know they filed for an XRP ETF? Yep, it's true. I covered this when it happened, and it's worth paying attention to. Big things could be on the horizon for XRP. Here's an exciting headline from October 2nd, 2024 via Blockworks. Bitwise files SEC paperwork to launch a spot XRP ETF. Yes, they're serious about XRP. They clearly recognize its potential to skyrocket in value from where it stands today, and they've got the funds to back it up. While I'm not sure of the exact number right now, a quick search turned up some interesting info. On October 15th, 2024, Bitwise reported crossing $5 billion in assets under management, an incredible 400% growth in 1 year. The number is likely even higher now, with market fluctuations post-election. Regardless, this growth underscores their confidence in XRP, with some speculating it could hit $30 per token in the near future. That timeline? Still up for debate, but it's definitely worth keeping an eye on. Bitwise knows what they're doing, and with $5 billion under management, their actions speak volumes. They're banking on this because they're serving clients who want investment opportunities like this. They genuinely believe it's possible. But before we dive deeper, let me make something crystal clear. I don't have a financial background. I'm not giving financial advice, and you definitely shouldn't make any buying or selling decisions based on what I say or write. I'm just someone who loves talking about crypto on YouTube as a hobby. It's all for fun, nothing more. Now, first things first, a big shout out to my fellow XRP YouTuber, Crypto Eddie. She shared this yesterday, which is how I stumbled upon it. She linked the actual document that outlines these fascinating XRP price targets, and I knew I had to talk about it. So, let's get into it. The bear case, XRP at 13 cents. Yep, you heard that right, 13 cents. That's their worst case scenario, where everything falls apart. But what stands out here is how responsible they're being. They've laid it all out. What they know, think, and believe about XRP, and the metrics that could make it long-term viable. From worst-case disasters to reasonable expectations, they've covered it all. Here's the best-case scenario. Plain and simple. That's being responsible. Now, let's be clear. This doesn't mean they think XRP is heading to 13 cents. I highly doubt they believe that. They're probably just covering all possible outcomes. So, worst-case scenario, 13 cents. Bull case, $12.68. And the max case, $29.32. But let's clarify something important. That max case isn't the absolute ceiling for XRP. It's based on a specific time frame. Their full analysis is laid out in a 33-page document titled The Investment Case for XRP. It's written by Matthew Hogan, Chief Investment Officer, and Ayush Tripathi, Research Analyst at Bitwise. I haven't read the whole thing yet, but I went straight to the juicy bits, and you're going to love this. The key section starts on page 26, and let's kick things off with the bearish side. Now, I don't think they're expecting this worst-case scenario to play out. It's more of a cover-all-bases approach in case everything goes south. As we dive in, you'll see their thesis is well supported with specifics, but here's the short version. Their investment thesis aligns closely with mine, and trust me, you're going to find their insights absolutely fascinating. My investment thesis boils down to a simple truth. Utility is king. This applies universally to all cryptocurrencies, not just XRP. In the end, utility will win, no exceptions. Today, there are tens of thousands of cryptocurrencies out there, And if you count meme coins, that number skyrockets into the millions. But focusing on the real players, it's no accident that XRP has consistently ranked in the top 10 by market cap for over 12 years. Think about that. Through market ups and downs, and even with the SEC breathing down its neck during the prior administration, XRP stayed strong. That kind of resilience isn't a coincidence. This isn't just luck. It's the result of a global consensus, a collective belief among crypto enthusiasts and investors worldwide. People kept XRP in the top 10 because it delivers real, functional value. It's not just hype, it's utility. XRP fulfills the promise Bitcoin once made, but couldn't keep. Satoshi Nakamoto envisioned Bitcoin as a peer-to-peer cash system, but on layer 1, Bitcoin failed. Sure, it's now a store of value, and it dominates the market cap, but it didn't succeed in its original mission. XRP, on the other hand, did, and people noticed. Utility matters. Being one of the earliest cryptocurrencies matters. XRP's longevity and purpose-built design are proof that people value functionality. That's why it remains a cornerstone of the crypto world no matter what challenges it faces. Being a first mover is a big deal, and that's part of the magic here. But the real kicker? It just works. Lightning fast settlement, practically real time. Blocks are confirmed in 3 to 5 seconds. And the cost? We're talking fractions of a penny per transaction. That's next level efficiency. Plus, there's no central authority pulling the strings. This is true decentralization, and businesses are already tapping into its potential. So here's the thing, whatever the use case, the utility is undeniable. It's clear utility wins in the end, and even Bitwise recognizes that. But let's consider the flip side. Does the utility disappear? In a worst case scenario, maybe other coins grab too much market share, and XRP just collapses. But honestly, that doesn't hold water. It's not impossible, sure, but is it likely? Not even close. Actually, let me rephrase. It's not remotely probable. Possible, yes. Probable, not a chance. Here's my take on this. Obviously, if Bitwise believed the outcome would be a disaster, they wouldn't roll out a product just to see investors and clients get burned while they make a quick buck. That's not the play here. No, they're betting big that this is going to soar. In fact, if anything, they might even be playing it safe with their projections. Now let's talk numbers. Close to $30 per XRP, that's a short-term outlook they're hinting at, with long-term potential extending into 2030. For all I know, it could even happen this market cycle. Maybe. If a tidal wave of money floods into the crypto space, starting with Bitcoin, who knows? While I'm a bit skeptical of the 30 XRP predictions this cycle, I'm not ruling it out entirely. Sure, I tend to lean conservative with price expectations, but I'll admit it. Crazy things happen in crypto. Let's consider the bearish scenario though. I'll spare you the math. It's on your screen if you want, but here's the gist of their thinking. And truly, it all circles back to something I've been saying since I first got into crypto. Utility is king. The coins that provide real practical value to businesses and people, those are the ones built to last. Utility will win the day, no question. Less than 1% of people on the planet have ever held XRP, and only about 5% have held any cryptocurrency at all. Let that sink in for a moment. If we're right about this, and adoption continues to grow, we're looking at a tidal wave of money flowing into the space. The value could skyrocket far beyond where we are today. That's the thrilling part. And here's the kicker, you're early. If you're reading this in 2025, pat yourself on the back. You discovered XRP before almost anyone else on the planet. Kudos to you. Seriously, congratulations. Now, let's look at what others are saying. Bitwise notes that XRP's bear case hinges on its reliance on institutional adoption within the banking sector. Sure, that's the skeptical view. They argue that if XRP doesn't capture a meaningful share of its target markets, payments, and tokenization, it could stumble. But let's get real about why XRP has thrived. It's simple. It's just good at payments. It does what Bitcoin can't, and people appreciate that. It's fast, efficient, and proves its worth where it matters most. And there's more. XRP boasts the first ever decentralized exchange, enabling tokenization and market creation on its distributed ledger. That's groundbreaking stuff. It's not just a currency, it's a whole ecosystem. Pretty amazing, right? Tokenization is finally here, and it's a game changer. After years of anticipation, real-world assets are being tokenized using DLT just as we hoped. This is a major narrative for the current market cycle. But here's the catch. While institutional adoption is picking up, tokenization prospects on the XRP ledger, XRPL, remain minimal. Stablecoin and other related activities still overshadowed by competitors. Now they throw in a formula, some math that's apparently significant. If you're into numbers, it's on the screen for you to decipher. Me? Let's just say math was never my favorite subject. Numbers can be brutal, and this one certainly is. Their bear case scenario predicts XRP collapsing to 13 cents by 2030. Yeah, ouch. That's a grim outlook. But let's not dwell on doom and gloom. These forecasts are just probabilities, covering bases, not predictions set in stone. The real concern lies in what XRP excels at: payments and tokenization. If rival coins prove superior and XRP loses market share, that's when trouble brews. Less interest in XRP could lead to the scenario outlined above. But hey, it's a debate worth having, and one that's far from over. Utility is everything. Without it, XRP and the XRP ledger would crumble. If there's no real use case, forget 13 cents. It's game over. Zero. But that's not the future I see, which is why I'm here. The adoption trend is clear, and it's heading in the right direction. I firmly believe the potential is enormous, and XRP could soar far beyond where it is today. Now let's talk bull case. Imagine this. XRP continues on its current path with steady network growth. It stays legal in major jurisdictions with fewer hurdles thanks to some resolution of the SEC lawsuit. Partnerships with institutions grow, not at lightning speed, but steadily. Cross-border payments and stablecoin usage on the XRPL rise, keeping pace with global trends in digital assets. In this scenario, XRP remains a small but solid player in payments and tokenization, with analysts giving it a neutral alpha of 0%. If that plays out, their calculations suggest XRP could hit $12.70 by 2030. Not bad, right? But here's the kicker. XRP's potential comes from a strong foundation of real utility. People value what XRP and the ledger bring to the table. That said, let's be real. Those massive green candles we've seen in the past, like in 2017 and 2018, weren't purely about utility. They were fueled by market euphoria, pure FOMO. And honestly, I'm counting on that happening again this cycle. It's part of my strategy. The reason we might witness XRP thriving in a frenzy of FOMO, which would be fantastic for those of us already holding it, boils down to one thing: utility. Utility is everything. It's the backbone, the reason XRP has survived and stayed relevant. That's crucial. This utility is what ultimately draws people in, like moths to a flame. That's how it works during these wild bull runs. The key is that we, the ones who understand its utility, saw the potential and invested early. Over the years, XRP has persisted, proving its strength. Then, when the masses, those who know nothing about investing, see the price skyrocketing, they rush in with their money, shouting, "Number go up." That's when things get wild. Some analysts project XRP hitting $12.70 by 2030. But here's the kicker. It could happen much sooner, months even. And this surge wouldn't necessarily be because of its utility growing any further than it has today. Utility is what gives XRP its foundation and long-term value. But those crazy price jumps? They're driven by hype and herd mentality, not fundamentals. So yes, XRP could hit $12.70 way ahead of schedule, maybe in months. But Bitwise, they're not framing it that way. They won't spin that narrative. This is just my take on it. And then we get to their maximum scenario, and that's where things start to get really interesting. What if the analysts predicting a big shift this cycle are actually right? Imagine that for a second. It'd be incredible. Now, let's talk about the max scenario for XRP. Picture this. XRP carves out a modest yet impactful slice of the multi-trillion-dollar payments and tokenization market. The upside? Enormous. Statista projects real-world asset tokenization could surpass $10.9 trillion by 2030. Even capturing just 1 to 2% of that market could send XRP's market cap soaring. Why? Because XRP is designed to thrive in this space, handling transaction fees for issuing, trading, and redeeming tokenized assets. Greater on-ledger flows would be inevitable under this scenario. Here's how it works. Issuers and participants leveraging the XRP ledger, XRPL, for token creation, custody, or settlement pay small fees in XRP. Plus, every transaction burns a tiny amount of XRP, reducing supply over time. This natural scarcity could push XRP's value higher. XRP isn't just a cog in the machine, it's the engine driving everything on the XRPL. Take RLUSD for instance, a stablecoin on the XRP ledger. It requires XRP to function. That's huge. When institutional and retail players recognize that RLUSD's adoption leans entirely on XRP, they'll think, wait, this stablecoin can't even exist without XRP. I should diversify into crypto. Let's put a significant chunk into XRP, and maybe a bit into other tokens too, but definitely XRP. That mindset will keep fueling XRP's momentum. Bitwise, a major player in the crypto space, is essentially confirming what's been said for years. Utility is king. The more people realize XRP's real-world applications, the more demand will grow, slowly but surely, over the years and decades. Bottom line, XRP isn't just a crypto coin, it's a cornerstone for what's to come. Yes, it's true, XRP gets burnt with every transaction. But let's be real, it's unlikely to have any meaningful impact, at least not in our lifetimes. Some have run the numbers, and even with massive adoption, it would take thousands of years for all XRP to burn out. Thousands. That's because the amount burned per transaction is minuscule. So, why burn it at all? It's a clever protection mechanism designed to prevent DDoS attacks. By making such attacks increasingly expensive as they continue, it essentially forces bad actors to burn money for nothing. Smart, right? But does it make XRP significantly scarcer? Technically, yes. Practically, not really. Sure, it's a nice feature, and I like the scarcity factor it adds, but let's not overhype it. Some people do, but the actual reduction in XRP supply is so small that it doesn't shift the needle in a big way. That's just my take. Now, where does XRP go under this scenario? Well, the cited projections only run through 2030. Imagine what could happen 10, 20, or even 30 years further down the line, assuming adoption keeps climbing. The possibilities are intriguing, but for now, let's keep things grounded. By 2030, XRP is projected to hit around $29.30. Yep, $29.30. It's possible this happens even sooner, but the analysts behind these numbers are steering clear of any moonboy hype, and it shows. These aren't your typical wild internet speculators. This is Bitwise, a firm managing $5 billion in assets as of October, offering a grounded, responsible outlook that's hard to ignore. Here's something else they highlighted. XRP's market cap relative to Bitcoin is currently about 11%. In a max case scenario, if Bitcoin hits $1 million, a $21 trillion market cap, XRP's $2.9 trillion market cap would bump its ratio to 13.81%, slightly increasing its market share. Importantly, this forecast doesn't rely on XRP dominating payments or tokenization markets, just capturing a meaningful slice of the action. And let's be real, XRP won't own 100% of any market. It doesn't need to. I've never believed it would, nor am I a maximalist. It just needs a solid share of the pie to stay relevant and thrive. Even a modest chunk, paired with its functional utility, will ensure XRP's future is bright and valuable. This perspective aligns perfectly with what I've believed since diving into crypto. It's logical, achievable, and incredibly exciting. XRP doesn't need to conquer the world, it just needs its piece, and that's more than enough to secure its long-term success. It's honestly kind of validating to see Bitwise echo ideas I've always thought made sense. They point out that their scenarios assume Bitcoin stays on a long-term bullish path, and that XRP continues to correlate closely with Bitcoin's market growth. Historically, XRP's relationship to Bitcoin has been inconsistent, and I think that's a fair observation. If Bitcoin falters, it likely signals a major shakeup in the crypto world, something catastrophic. But honestly, I don't see that as the most likely outcome. I can't predict XRP's future price. Maybe all my optimism will be crushed, and XRP could theoretically hit zero. Sure, it's possible, but is it likely? Not at all. Just look at the data. In my view, XRP is poised to go way higher. A multi-trillion-dollar market cap isn't a matter of if, but when. And when it happens, it's entirely reasonable to imagine 30 XRP or more. Check back in 10 or 20 years. Actually, let's make it a bet. I'd wager it'll be much higher than that. If crypto sticks around long enough and reaches the level of adoption many of us believe it will, the sky's the limit. It can go way higher than we imagine. I truly believe that. Now, I can't say with certainty it will happen, but I believe in the possibility 100%. That's why, even though I rarely mention triple-digit XRP, I'll admit, if XRP sees widespread adoption and crypto gains traction globally, yeah, triple-digit XRP could absolutely happen. There's more than enough money in the world to make it a reality. That said, I don't think it's happening anytime soon. Personally, I'd love to be proven wrong, but realistically, I just don't see it in the near future. Still, even the possibility of such growth is enough to get me excited. Honestly, I don't need triple-digit XRP to feel thrilled about my investment. Maybe you feel the same. So, if you're someone who thinks XRP could be worth a fortune down the road, guess what? You're not crazy. You're just early. There are plenty of brilliant minds in finance who also believe XRP has potential far beyond where it stands today. And eventually, the rest of the world will catch on, assuming we're right about the direction things are heading. Look at the bigger picture. Crypto isn't going anywhere, and XRP is carving out its place as a first mover with real utility. Over time, all the signs point to continued growth and validation. It's just how things are unfolding. But hey, I'm not a financial advisor. Don't buy or sell anything because of what I say. That would be a really, really bad idea.